Editing Brownie here. This is gonna be my last time filming this because I filmed this like 20 times trying to think of all of them. So we're just gonna sum it up. Trigger warnings for this book. It's a very heavy book. It covers a bunch of heavy topics, and if there are certain things that trigger you, it's most likely in this book. So would not recommend it if there's very common triggers like abuse and manipulation and such, and other things. So yeah, if stuff like that affects you, don't read this. But very good book if it does not affect you. Hey guys, this is my first video on this channel. I don't normally do videos with my voice, so it might be a little awkward, but please bear with me. So, this is my book review channel and the first book I read, it's in my PFP, A List of Cages. I've read other books before, but I wanted to start with a book that I hadn't read like a while ago, and I just finished this. So I'm gonna give you a brief summary, and then I'm gonna tell you what I think about it. So the book starts off with our main character, Adam, who has recently gotten a volunteer job to work with the school counselor for his last period. So instead of having to do another class, he gets like high school, whatever, I don't know, for basically just sitting around all day. And he thought that was awesome, even though he does have ADHD. So he agreed to that, and he's been doing that for a while now, and it's been going good. Everything was going well until the counselor asks him if he can find a boy, Julian, and make sure that she goes to his office every day, because he has not been going like he's supposed to. He is dyslexic and has trouble reading. He has lots of anxiety from trauma and such, because his parents died when he was very young. And Adam was very shocked to hear this, because after Julian's parents died, he was the foster brother of Julian. Julian went to his house, lived with him. His mom absolutely adored him, and he stayed there for a while because they could not find any family of his. But then out of nowhere, they took Julian away from them because they had found his uncle, and this devastated Adam's mom. So then of course Adam's like, yeah, of course, I'll find him, I'll bring him to your office, yeah, whatever, you know, normal things, normal people things. Adam finds him, takes him to his office, and they start talking. And Julian is completely different from how Adam remembers him. Even though he had gone through trauma then, he was still very resilient, very outspoken about his opinions, and very stubborn. Now, as he's talking to Julian, he sees basically a completely different person. Very shy, reserved, doesn't really talk that much. So this shocks Adam, and he's trying to become friends with him. And as they are hanging out or whatever, between these days on days, they become really close again. And one day, Julian does not show up to school, and this really confuses Adam. So he goes to his house and sees his uncle there, and basically he's just asking if he's all right and stuff. And the uncle is like, "Who are you?" And Julian's like, not Julian. Adam is like, "I am his friend." And he's like, "Julian doesn't have any friends. Why is a boy like you, a senior, hanging out with my nephew, 14 years old?" They're like, "We're friends." He's like, "That's a little weird." So then he shuts the door on Adam's face, and Adam's like, "Okay, whatever," and leaves. Well, and man, I just want to say, Adam and Julian's relationship is just so brotherly and cute. This is not really super important to the story, so I kind of left this out. But they go to this party, what's his face, Adam's girlfriend's birthday party, and oh my god, they're so sweet. Their brotherly relationship, it's just Adam is so protective of Julian, and just wants to make sure that he's okay, and just cares about him. This makes me wish I had older siblings. Makes me wish, and it's you get really nervous, and you're like, they're not gonna make this romantic, are they? It's like kind of weird. But then you just trust and you're like, nope, this is siblings. This is siblings. The way that they like taunt and just like also care so much. It's siblings. Nobody can tell me this is something weird. Siblings. Okay, so back to the angsty part of the story. Julian gets sick again a few weeks later, and Adam goes to the house, brings him medicine this time because his mom found out and is like, oh no, I care about this kid too much. This kid is not gonna be missing so much school because he is sick. Here, bring this medicine to him. So Adam brings it over and goes inside the house, and Julian's like, you can't be here, you can't be here. My uncle gets so mad when people are over, you can't be here. And I was like, it's fine, I'll leave in a minute, just can I hang out with you? So he does, and then after a little bit he leaves. And then when Julian's uncle finds out, he's like, why would you let him in the house? And he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't try to let him out. He just kind of came in. He's like, do I need to call the cops? He's like, no. And he's like, you know what? This boy is weird. And throughout the book, we've gotten weird vibes from the uncle. We've seen him punish Julian for a very weird thing and punish him in a very odd way. He would make him get this paddle, I think it was a paddle. Yeah, and he would lift his shirt up, and then he would beat him with the paddle as hard as he could, and then continuously just beat him. And the next day, he would go out for a business trip and then leave him $20. So he's like, the uncle does this. But Julian stands up to him because he's been hanging around Adam, who's a very outgoing person, knows all these people, stands up for what he wants and what he doesn't. When he thinks something's wrong, he'll voice that. And so he stands up to his uncle and is like, I didn't do anything. He's my friend. He's nice to me. And basically his uncle gets all mad and is like, I took you. Do you want to leave? I care about you so much. And tells Julian, I'm going to give you one more chance. And they go upstairs to Julian's room, and he has this trunk, and he tells, like, trunk, put your stuff in. Yeah, not like a car trunk. Took me a minute, got messed up on that, so make sure I clarify. So he tells Julian to get inside. Well, Julian gets inside, and he's stuck in there for 19 days exactly. And his uncle sometimes comes in after a couple days, water and stuff, but it was like 2 weeks that the uncle did not go there, and he had locked the chest and covered the air holes. And Adam was getting super freaked out because he went up to the counselor and found out that Julian had been withdrawn from school. So he goes to the house and is getting this terrible feeling. He knocks on the door, the uncle isn't there, so he's just like, you know what, something's not right, and he busts through a window, goes upstairs, and then opens his chest and sees Julian in there, rushes him to the hospital, and stays there for days with Julian, weeks even, to make sure that he's okay. They cannot find his uncle. He's gone missing, he's ran away, and the police aren't really doing anything about it. At the beginning, they blame Adam a lot and are like, are you on something? And because he was shaking his leg, and he's like, no, I have ADHD, I'm not on anything. This has been a really stressful situation. I just found like basically my brother on death's doorstep. They're like, you know what? Go against that wall. Go against that wall, man. I don't believe you. Cops are so stinky in this book. I'm sorry. I know all the cops aren't like that, but it's kind of stinky. So, they get discharged from the hospital, and Julian has been terrible, absolutely petrified of where his uncle is, won't leave the house. But then one day he tells Adam, I need to go back to my uncle's house. There's something there I need. So, Adam says, okay, but we're bringing some of our friends to keep watching because your uncle's back. And he looks, and he's looking for a notebook that has his mother's handwriting in it with a bunch of lists, and he doesn't know any of these lists mean, and he wants to try to figure them out. And the book means a lot to him because it was his mother's before she passed away. So he looks for the book, and it's not in his room. So he's like, it must be in my uncle's office. They look in the office, and it's something that a hoarder would have. books stacked across, junk everywhere, garbage. It's disgusting. So they're looking through here and they find the notebook, but next to the notebook they find a flash drive. Adam plugs this flash drive in and finds videos of Julian getting beat, and very odd. And he also finds out that the uncle would make Julian shave his legs because he said that there was diseases and stuff crawling in your leg hair. And then Adam's like, oh my god, we need to keep this. Like, this is evidence. We need to take this to the police. Right now he's only out there for child abuse, but this could be something more. And Julian's like, no, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. And Adam's like, why? And then Julian is just like, because some of them I will be naked in. And he's like, that's not normal, Julian. He's like, whatever, do not take it to the cops. Please do not. So Adam's like, I'm not deleting it, but I will not take it to the cops. I promise. So he keeps that hard drive, and Julian's like, you're not gonna look through any of them, are you? He's like, why would I do that? That's weird. And Julian's petrified. He never knew that he was being recorded during these situations. So they leave his uncle's house, and his mom has officially gotten custody of Julian. And it's a few months through summer, the school year has ended, and they decide they're gonna throw a graduation party. Well, but though Julian has been doing better, he's not great. So this party overwhelms him. He goes to sit outside. As he's sitting outside, his uncle yells for him, and his uncle hops the fence, grabs Julian by his throat, and is like, why'd you leave me? Why'd you leave the trunk? After all I've done for you, you've left. And he's like, you want to come with me, right? I've never put my hands on you. Like, when have I ever put my hands on you? As his hands are on him. He sucks. I hate him. That uncle, no. Nada. And so Julian's like, okay, I'll come. Just leave them all alone. And uncle is like, pulls out a gun and is like, I hate that Julian. That Julian has been hurting you. So, you know what I'm gonna do? To make sure he can never hurt you again. At this point, Adam has had this gut feeling that something is wrong. He needs to go check on Julian. So he goes and he sees him. He gets the gun pointed at his head and he just freezes. The world slows down, everything, double chin, and everything stops. That's when the whole party goes out, and his friend Charlie, who's incredibly strong, jumps onto the uncle and is just punching him. And the gun flies out of his hand, and the uncle is very much stronger than Charlie, so then he's able to take him, like pull him off, and they both race for the gun. Charlie gets there first and just did not mean to shoot it. He has the gun, shoots the uncle, and oof, he died. I'm not sorry at all. Oof, you deserved that. Child predator looking loser. So, after this, Julian's confidence, like we've already known he's slowly been getting better, but his confidence just spikes. He becomes like how he used to be, so much more cheerful. He's upspoken, because in the past he felt as if his uncle could hear anything he said. You know, always had to be quiet. But now he doesn't have to worry about that. I don't really know what happened. I probably accidentally skipped a page, but I don't know what happened with Charlie. He was still there at the end, but he like killed him. So I don't really know what happened there. That's kind of like a plot hole that never gets resolved. Unless I skipped a page, I'm wrong. My bad. But that never got resolved, and that kind of didn't sit right with me. But at the end, we see Julian's party, his birthday party, and it's his first one in years. I mean, he's so incredibly grateful. And it's just so happy. Anyways, that is the summary. That was the summary, and now I am going to move on to my thoughts on the book. Personally, I think that the book was a really cute story of brotherly relationships, abuse, and manipulation. However, I do think that there were not a few, but like there was a very big plot hole in the whole thing. A couple, and I'll get to them. First one, of course, I said it already. Uncle. Again, I'm not sure if I like skipped a page or something, but Uncle dies, and then all of a sudden it's like Charlie's talking about his guilt and whatnot, and it's like we flip a chapter and all of a sudden everything's fine. Like, what? He just killed somebody. Police don't get involved. Like, just because he was a bad guy doesn't mean like Charlie might not get like juvenile detention or something for murder. That never happened. Kind of wish I knew what happened there, but whatever. Another major plot hole is the lists. So we talk about these lists and how much they mean to Julian. And we do get something at the end of the book who's like, I don't know what these books mean. And he was doing research and was like, I found out a few of them, but they're all just not important. And he rips up a few of them and he just starts crying to Adam. But it's like, what was all this buildup? There was a lot of buildup throughout the entire book, which is one of the reasons why I didn't mention it, because there was no actual closure. But throughout the entire book, there was a ton of buildup about these and them meaning something. But at the end of the book, we find out they mean nothing. It probably has some symbolism to it or whatnot, but just very much felt odd to me. And now, here is, personally, I think this plot hole is bigger than the last one I talked about, but not as big as the first one. But again, this could have just been me not reading between the lines. I tend to struggle on big books towards the end to read between lines and find like messages and stuff that they're projecting. But like beginnings of books through like here, I can typically know their meanings and stuff, but by the end here, I'm just involved in what's happening, so I'm typically not remembering past events from in here, because in here I'm like, okay, that happened and that's connected and that, but then by the time we get here, I'm like, there's just action, and I'm very involved in the action and not thinking about passing. So there could have been a statement in here that talked about this, but whatever. I did not find it, is how the uncle knew where Adam lived. This could have just been sheer coincidence, him walking past, but Julian was in the backyard. So, I don't know about that. It's just very odd to me how he found him. He could have known where he lived or something by watching him walk home or something. I don't know though. I'm very, very curious about that. So that was a plot hole. Other than those three things, I think that was about all the plot holes I had. Personally, I would recommend this book. There are a couple trigger warnings, but I already talked about them. So if you're not comfortable with topics like abuse or manipulation, or if orphanism, I don't know the word, but like death of parents, if that's something that makes you very much uncomfortable, I would not recommend this book. But other than that, I would totally recommend this book. You know the plot holes and everything. It's a very sweet book, and it's got a lot of like angst. Not angst. Angst is such a bad word. Hate that word. But it's got a lot of heartfelt messages in it, and a lot of like side plots that end up coming together that I didn't really talk about because they weren't that big to the plot, but they very much fleshed out the characters and who they were as people, and allowed their development throughout the book, and allowed characters like Julian to know Julian, and us to feel like we can actually feel rewarded by his growth as a person. And Adam as well. Like, we always knew him as this very cheery boy who never like felt anything. He never let anything affect him. But then once he met Julian and realized how much somebody could mean to him, after he saw him near dead, he actually started allowing himself to feel things and feel upset and cry. And we are allowed to feel rewarded for that, because negative emotions are still a part of life. And the way that they flesh out the characters really let us know that and be able to feel the emotions of the characters and feel them growing and feel them getting better. That's the end of this video. Videos are probably gonna get better and summaries shorter because I'm not very good at summarizing stuff. But this was off the top. I'll probably start making scripts or something. But this was just like improv, and hope you enjoyed. Get yourself a copy. Bye!